I accidentally left my laptop at my mother's house. When I went back, I heard her on the phone. The competency hearing is next month. Michael's crew can. I left my laptop on her dining room table after Sunday dinner and didn't realize it until I was 20 minutes down the road. My mother has always been the kind of woman who cataloged your failures and kept them close. Growing up, she kept an actual notebook. The C in 7th grade science, the fender bender at 19, the divorce at 32. She would reference these things at odd moments, casually, like reading something routine out of the paper. When my father died 4 years ago and left everything to me, including the house I grew up in and a small portfolio of rental properties he'd spent 30 years building, music, she didn't say a single word about it. She just smiled across the dinner table and started calling more often. At first, I thought she was lonely. Then I decided she was grieving differently than I was. I was wrong on both counts. I pulled back into her driveway around 9 o'clock that evening. The porch light was off, but the kitchen light cut through the side window in a long yellow stripe across the grass. Music. I used my old key, the one she'd never asked back for, and stepped inside quietly so I wouldn't startle her. I heard her voice before I even cleared the entryway. She wasn't startled. She didn't know I was there at all. She was at the kitchen counter with a phone pressed to her ear, and her voice had this low, efficient quality I had never once heard from her before. The voice of someone who runs meetings for a living. The competency hearing is next month, she said. Michael's crew can prep the documentation, music before then. We just need 2 signatures from the psychiatric evaluation and it's done. I stood completely still in the dark hallway holding my laptop bag. He's music, not actually incompetent, she continued, but he doesn't need to know that. The rental income alone makes it worth the trouble. Once the court assigns me as his legal guardian, the properties transfer under my management authority. He can appeal, but appeals take years, and by then everything will already be restructured. She laughed at something the other person said. He trusts me. That has always been his problem. Out the way I came in and pulled the door shut behind me without a sound. I sat in my car in her driveway for 11 minutes. I watched the clock the entire time. I wasn't processing, I was deciding. I drove home and called my attorney at 10 o'clock that night, and she picked up because she tells her clients to call when it's real. I walked her through everything I'd heard, word for word. She went quiet for a moment and then said, "Don't go back there, don't call your mother, don't change a single thing about your routine. Send me everything your father left you in writing by morning." For 3 weeks, music, I acted completely normal. I called her every Sunday. I let her talk about her garden and her neighbor's dog and a documentary she'd watched about deep sea music exploration. I asked follow-up questions. I laughed at the right moments. I told her I loved her at the end of each call. She had no idea that my attorney had already filed a preemptive motion establishing my legal competency on public record, that we had subpoenaed the psychiatric music evaluation firm she'd contracted, and found the evaluating doctor's license had been suspended in 2 states, and that Michael turned out to be a paralegal who had been disbarred for document music fraud in a separate case 3 years prior. My mother's attorney discovered all of this 12 hours before the hearing, when our filing landed on the judge's music desk. The hearing lasted 20 minutes. The judge dismissed it and referred the matter to the state bar and the district attorney's office for review. My mother called me that same afternoon. She said there had been a terrible misunderstanding. She said Michael had acted music entirely without her knowledge or consent. She said she'd only been trying to protect me, that she'd worried about my finances since the divorce, and everything she'd done came from love. Her voice had that careful, warmly aimed quality I'd known my whole life. I let her finish. "I know about the notebook," I said. She went quiet. "Every mistake, every time I wasn't enough, you kept a record of all of it." More silence. "Contact me through my attorney going forward." She started to say my name. I hung up. "The properties are still mine. The hearing is public record. I haven't spoken to her since.